I know, I am super late to this party. But the best time to turn a man into a tree was 200 years ago. The second best time is now. That's a reference to what Numera does to a guy at the end of the second Wild Mage book. Clearly, I grew up reading Tamora Pierce. The first book series I ever loved, the one that taught me how to read, was Harry Potter. But that's tainted now. And Protector of the Small will always remain a good, pure memory. I went on to read Alanna the Lioness and the Immortal series in middle school, and then proceeded to reread all 3 series, basically up until present day. All this to say, my Tamora Pierce reading was mostly limited to Tortle and the Copper Islands and Scanrup. That book world. I didn't even find out about the Winding Circle until much later. So here I am, 29 years old, reading a book series written for preteens, and all I can say is, oh my god, this is so sad. How on earth is this for preteens? The first book, I mean, I guess it starts out pretty chill once we get past the trauma of all of the main characters losing their families. But then each book just gets progressively more stressful and with higher and higher stakes. An earthquake, a betrayal from a family member, a pirate attack, a wildfire, being exiled from your culture, and not to mention a freaking pandemic? Is that really what I needed to read about right now? I swear, Briar's book, it took me a month. I had to break the chapters down into part chapter chunks. I just couldn't do it. I know. Tamora Pierce wrote it like 30 years ago. I'm just saying, it was not a good time for me to read this book. But let's talk about the series as a whole. The books are formatted such that each of the main 4 kids gets their own sort of central book. There's Sandry's book, Triss's book, Daja's book, and Briar's book. Each book really fits the character's damage, for lack of a better phrase. It conquers it or transforms it in some way. For example, Triss's book. She has been rejected by her family, told that she is too dangerous and powerful and also strange. And I would also call her the most stubborn of the main characters. Like if I was going to give her a subtitle, it would be Triss, the stubborn one. So in her book, she is betrayed by family, the last family member she thought actually cared about her. And that at least seems to sever her hangups about her family. I can't remember her mentioning it again after this incident. In the first 2 books, she would think about her family and think about how they had abandoned her. And then after that, it seems like she's mostly dealt with the familial connection. And then even though she's not supposed to, and it almost kills her, she stubbornly uses all of her big scary power to destroy the pirate fleet and protect her new home and her new family. By the way, if you're looking for a found family book series, this one is it. I mean, you probably knew that anyway. Next up is Daja. Daja's damage is that for reasons outside of her control, she has been exiled from her culture, the traders. But then because of that, she has discovered this love of something that her people actually reject, which is creating. In her case, it's metalwork. Her magic is also related to fire because, you know, she has to use fire to melt metal to do metalwork. So naturally, she faces a wildfire. If this was 2007 and we had just had the first big San Diego fire, I bet I'd feel similarly about Daja's book that I do to Briar's book. Well, up until her book, she's been able to sort of just ignore the fact that she's unwanted by her culture. In the third book, they actually come across a caravan of traveling traders and they don't interact with her or even acknowledge that she exists, but they want to buy something that she's created. So now she really has to face that trauma. At the end of the book, she saves all their lives and is offered to join them again, to reintegrate into her culture, but this time on her own terms. She rejects them for this new skill in life that she has. She chooses to stay and do the thing that she loves with the people she loves, and it's beautiful. Okay, Briar's book. Briar grew up as a street urchin named Roach. He doesn't really remember any family. He just knew the sort of gang of thieves that he stole with. He had been convicted of thievery 3 times and was about to be sentenced to hard labor, but then his magical potential was acknowledged and he was rescued and sent to Winding Circle. Once Briar gets there, he immediately gets on the bad side of Dedicate Crane, a wealthier, well-educated mage. Crane sees Briar as just a street rat, and Briar sees Crane as just someone who doesn't care about anyone else, who only cares about his own snobbery and money. So naturally, in Briar's book, he faces a pandemic. The pandemic actually starts with a friend of his, a fellow street rat, and Briar is sort of forced to come to terms with the fact that while maybe not everyone cares in the same way that he cares and wouldn't solve the problem in the same way he would, that a lot of people do care, including Dedicate Crane. Briar has to kind of acknowledge that there are different ways to solve a problem and that people are doing that, and that the different levels of society are working to try to solve this problem, even though he thinks they see his friend as just another street rat. The representation representation of this change is actually the growth of Briar's relationship with Crane. Crane learns to respect that Briar actually does work hard and is skilled in a lot of ways, and Briar learns to recognize that Crane knows a lot and does care and is, working all hours of the day and night to try to find a cure for this disease. Briar's damage is really complicated because he's had sort of the longest stint of trauma. He really doesn't want to let go of his roach identity, but is sort of being forced to reconcile that he kind of already has. And the thing is, him not trusting people, him sneaking around, it comes in handy, especially in Triss's book. So it's this really difficult balance for him, and I hope this book helps him with that, especially with the ending and recognizing his family and the people who love him, sort of symbolized by him finally choosing a birthday. I just want good things for Briar. I don't think he's going to get them. You'll notice I've skipped the first book, kind of, because a lot of the backstory elements that I've mentioned and the what happens when everyone first arrives at Winding Circle, that all takes place in the first book, in Sandry's book, the book that's supposed to focus on Sandry, but instead we're being introduced to all of the other kids, the Winding Circle itself, all of the kids as teachers, their whole interaction. So Sandry kind of doesn't get a lot of focus. Honestly, if Sandry's your favorite character, please sound off in the comments. I feel bad. She doesn't get nearly as much focus. Sandry literally lost her entire family to a pandemic. You'd kind of think facing another pandemic and nearly losing a part of her new family because of it might have some effect on her. Maybe a little bit. There's one moment where she goes I lost my parents and the woman that was kind of like a mom to me to the pandemic. I don't even know if she really has any point of view moments in Briar's book, which is maddening because she should be the second most affected character. Okay, here's the thing. I've mentioned the damage of the other main characters. What is Sandry's damage? Because it seemed to just be that she's scared of the dark, and that is not good enough. She was stuck alone in a closet for months while a mob just wrecked her entire life. How is she just afraid of the dark after that? How is she not worried about a mob mentality? As she sees more people coming into the Winding Circle because of the pandemic, why isn't she worried about some sort of uprising? Why is it the darkness and not just being left alone that triggers her? If that were the case, then getting a dog would make a lot of sense, and all of a sudden the animals that are in these books might matter a little bit. And okay, Triss's power is with the weather and water. She makes a big water spout. So fighting pirates, which rely on good weather and literally are on the sea, that makes sense. Daja, again, metalworker, works with fire, wildfire, makes sense. Briar works with plants. So, a pandemic that relies on medicinal herbs, again, perfect sense. Why is Sandry's thing? Why is her big climax the thing that she fights? Why is it an earthquake? What does that have to do with weaving? I guess if we're going with the metaphoricalness of she needs to weave the other characters' powers together, because an earthquake actually is a little bit from each of the other three. But that still is just so impersonal to her. Is her whole point just that she brings everyone else together? That kind of sucks. I mean, probably the intention is that an earthquake doesn't really fit any one of their powers and that they have to be woven together in order to defeat it and survive, which I get. It just seems like she got the short straw, where her stuff is just about everybody else. And I know that Tamora Pierce tries to make this up to her, because in other books there'll be a lot about weaving and how they throw a rope of their power, as if they keep trying to relate back to Sandry's method of magic. I don't know, it just feels like a raw deal. I get that she's responsible for the kids being close, and I know that there are moments for her woven into the other books. I just never feel like we understand her, her core, her character. Is she really just the eternal optimist? She just feels, I hate to say this, so bland. She doesn't really get a chance to grow or change in these stories. I mean, if she's always seeing the best in people, give her a betrayal arc. Why didn't she have that instead of Triss? Let her see that she has to choose who's worth her time and effort. And okay, I know I mentioned this before. I know Tamora Pierce loves animals. I have a protector of the small. I love Jump. I love Crown. I cry when Crown dies every time. When my dog died, I had to reread the Crown funeral scene. I get it, but what is the point of Little Bear and Shriek? From a plot perspective, I understand that rescuing Little Bear is what brought the kids together a lot more, and that's great. But at that point, why not just return the dog to its owner or something? Because after that fact, I don't think Little Bear does anything. Okay, that's enough ranting. I'm sorry. I really did like these books. When something is close to perfect, it actually frustrates me a lot more than when something's kind of, you know, meh, because it's so close to perfect. It could have been 100% perfect. Things that I like. I love how the different powers and damages weave together with the climaxes of the books. I think it's extremely well done. I do love all these characters, especially the teachers. I'm going to start with them because I'm a writer and I know how hard it is to write teachers. It's really difficult to make teachers who care about their students, who are very well educated and know what they're doing, but also have like complex outer lives. And these books just do that so seamlessly. Rosethorn and Lark, they're sort of odd couple vibes, you know, because they're married. I will not accept criticism on that opinion. Frostpine, even before he gives his backstory, just his vibe is so jolly and friendly. Him interacting with Kirill, his other apprentice, it just works. It makes him feel like he has a life outside of his shop before you even have like learned about it. Nico, I feel weird about. It really feels like there are like 2 scenes in Briar's book where all of a sudden it's thrown in that he really cares about his appearance. Maybe I just didn't read into that early enough. I don't know. But I will say, obviously, he does have like a rich inner and outer world. Definitely. I do kind of hope we learn more about his backstory because I am very curious. And I do want something that differentiates him from Numair. I think that might be my biggest problem is he does remind me of Numair in the pre-romance Wild Mage books. Okay, so the kids. Even though it doesn't make sense to me, Sandry being the eternal optimist, the one who like always wants to bring everyone together, who wants Briar to choose a birthday, who like invites Daja to come sit with her, that's really sweet. I think we all want a friend like that. Triss's stubbornness and love for animals, I just relate to her so hard. Her nose is always in a book. The way that her and Nico kind of bicker but get along and are both really intelligent and can sort of have like spirited discussions about things. The way that she really loves being outside and how she like rubs everyone the wrong way, but her friends still love her, and how because her emotions like literally lead to lightning and storms, so she has to learn to like hold them inside, but her friends can still see through her, and that takes, you know, a 4-book arc of that just kind of happening in the background. It's lovely. I love Triss. She's just such a compelling character, and I really just feel like a lot can be done with her, and I'm really excited to read about her in the coming books. I feel like Daja is the most opposite of me, which makes her books so interesting to read. The way that she like comes from this place of her culture being at war with her passion. She's so like thoughtful and she just digs deeper into herself, but like it takes her friends to pull her out. But she like obviously really cares about them, and I mean she has to grow to care about them. Oh, her whole character arc of being rejected from her culture and having to come to terms with it, finding this new love for something, and then almost having it all come tumbling down. It's beautiful. I love what Tamora Pierce has done with her. And Briar, he might be my favorite. I don't know. It's between him and Triss. He has this loneliness in him, this just eternal distrust. And so it's like when he meets Rosethorn and she's this person who like doesn't sugarcoat things, who's just so blunt that he knows he can always trust her because she like never lies about anything. She's like, you know, always telling him he does a bad job sort of thing. So he knows he can trust when she says good things about him. It's heartbreaking, but like in the most beautiful way. So those are my thoughts on Tamora Pierce's Circle of Magic series. I've only read the first 4 books so far. I'm very much looking forward to apparently the next 4 and then next 3. If you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts, please let me know below. But again, please no spoilers for the next series, please. Please don't do that to me. If you think that I definitely need to read the next series, The Circle Opens, please give this video a like. And if you want to see more reading videos, please subscribe and set the notification bell to all if you want to know when I upload a new video. Until next time, cheers!